The SmackDown general manager just drew a line in the sand that could change everything heading into Wargames. Nick Aldis delivered a serious, no-nonsense warning to Paul Heyman, and the message was crystal clear: there are consequences coming. This confrontation has the entire WWE universe on edge. What's up, Wrestlingverse family? Welcome back to the channel where we break down the biggest power moves, the most intense confrontations, and the moments that shape the landscape of professional wrestling. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell because you're about to witness authority versus manipulation, and it's absolutely explosive. Today, we're diving into the tense situation brewing on SmackDown. Nick Aldis, the general manager who's been trying to maintain order and control, just issued a serious warning to Paul Heyman, the wise man, the special counsel, the master manipulator who's been pulling strings for years. And with Wargames on the horizon, this warning couldn't come at a more critical time. Let's break down what was said, why it matters, and what this means for the biggest match of the year. Before we get into the confrontation, we need to understand the dynamic between these two very different power players in WWE. Nick Aldis is the general manager of SmackDown, and he takes that role seriously. This isn't some former wrestler playing authority figure for fun. Aldis is a man who built his reputation on being a professional, a technician, and someone who respects the business of professional wrestling. His career speaks for itself. Multiple world championships. Years on the independent scene building his craft. A reputation as someone who does things the right way, who honors tradition, who believes in rules and structure. When Aldis became general manager, he brought that same mentality to the role. He's not interested in chaos. He's not interested in superstars taking shortcuts or bending the rules. He wants SmackDown to be the premier brand in WWE, and that means maintaining order, ensuring fairness, and making sure everyone is held accountable. Nick Aldis is the kind of authority figure who will stand up to anyone, regardless of their status or connections, if they step out of line. And that's exactly what makes this warning to Paul Heyman so significant. Now let's talk about Paul Heyman. The wise man, the advocate, the special counsel, the greatest talker in professional wrestling history. Paul Heyman has been manipulating, scheming, and playing mind games for decades. He's managed some of the most dominant champions in WWE history. He's been in Roman Reigns' corner during the Tribal Chief's historic reign. He's the voice behind the throne, the architect of strategy, the man who always has a plan. Heyman doesn't play by the same rules everyone else does. He finds loopholes. He exploits technicalities. He uses his intelligence and his silver tongue to get his clients advantages that other superstars don't have. And he's brilliant at it. But that brilliance, that willingness to bend rules and manipulate situations, puts him directly at odds with someone like Nick Aldis. Because while Heyman is all about working the system, Aldis is all about enforcing it. These are two men with completely opposite philosophies about how WWE should operate. And heading into Wargames, those philosophies are about to collide. So what exactly did Nick Aldis say to Paul Heyman? Let's break down the confrontation. According to multiple reports and eyewitness accounts, Nick Aldis called Paul Heyman into his office or confronted him in a backstage area. The tone was serious. This wasn't a casual conversation. This was a general manager laying down the law. Aldis reportedly made it clear that he's been watching everything Heyman has been doing. All the manipulation, all the interference, all the ways Heyman has been trying to stack the deck in favor of his clients heading into Wargames. And Aldis made it abundantly clear that he's not going to tolerate it anymore. The warning was direct. If Paul Heyman or anyone associated with him tries to interfere in Wargames, if they try to gain an unfair advantage, if they try to manipulate the match in any way, there will be severe consequences. And those consequences won't just affect the wrestlers involved. They'll affect Paul Heyman personally. Aldis emphasized that Wargames is one of the most important matches in WWE, and he's not going to let anyone compromise its integrity. This match needs to be fair. It needs to be competitive. It needs to be decided by the superstars in the ring, not by outside interference or manipulation. The message was simple but powerful. Play by the rules, or face the consequences. Paul Heyman, to his credit, didn't back down immediately. He responded with his typical mixture of respect and defiance, acknowledging Aldis's authority while making it clear that he always operates within the letter of the law, even if he stretches the spirit of it. But you could tell from the body language, from the intensity of the conversation, that Aldis wasn't interested in Heyman's verbal gymnastics. He was drawing a line. And that line better not be crossed. So why does this warning matter so much? What's really at stake here? First, let's talk about Wargames itself. This is one of the most brutal, most unpredictable matches in all of professional wrestling. 2 rings. 1 massive steel cage. 2 teams. 5 superstars each. Weapons are legal. Anything goes. It's organized chaos, and it's absolutely must-see television. The integrity of a match like Wargames is everything. Fans need to believe that the outcome is determined by the competitor's skill, toughness, and determination. If there's too much outside interference, if the match feels manipulated or predetermined by forces outside the cage, it loses its impact. Nick Aldis understands that. He knows that for Wargames to mean something, it has to feel legitimate. It has to feel like a real war where the best team wins, not the team with the best manipulator on the outside. Paul Heyman's entire career has been built on giving his clients every possible advantage. That's his job. That's what makes him valuable. But in this case, his methods are putting him on a collision course with SmackDown's authority structure. Second, this is about control. Nick Aldis is trying to establish that SmackDown is his show. That he's the one in charge. That even someone as influential and connected as Paul Heyman has to answer to him. That's a huge statement. Heyman has operated with relative immunity for years because of his association with top stars like Roman Reigns. But Aldis is making it clear that status doesn't matter. Rules apply to everyone. And if you break them, there are consequences. This power struggle between Aldis and Heyman could define how SmackDown operates moving forward. If Aldis can successfully keep Heyman in check, it establishes his authority. If Heyman finds a way around Aldis's warning, it proves that he's still the smartest person in the room. Third, there are personal stakes involved. Paul Heyman's clients, whoever they may be heading into Wargames, are counting on him. They expect him to give them every advantage, to create opportunities, to help them win. If Heyman is neutralized by Aldis's warning, his clients might suffer. And that could damage Heyman's reputation as the ultimate advocate. On the flip side, if Heyman ignores the warning and faces consequences, what does that mean for his future in WWE? Could Aldis suspend him? Ban him from ringside? Fine him? Remove him from SmackDown entirely? The possibilities are serious, and they all have major implications. Let's explore what might happen as we get closer to Wargames. Scenario 1. Paul Heyman heeds the warning. He stays within the rules. He doesn't interfere. He lets his clients compete on their own merits. This would be a huge victory for Nick Aldis and would show that authority still means something in WWE. But it would also be completely out of character for Heyman, which is why this scenario seems unlikely. Scenario 2. Heyman finds a loophole. He technically follows Aldis's rules but still finds a way to help his clients without directly violating the warning. This is classic Heyman. He's a master at operating in the gray areas, at finding ways to bend the rules without breaking them. Aldis would be frustrated, but if Heyman doesn't technically break any rules, there's nothing he can do. Scenario 3. Heyman ignores the warning completely. He interferes in Wargames anyway, believing that the potential reward outweighs the risk of consequences. This leads to Aldis taking action, which could create a whole new storyline about Heyman fighting for his position in WWE or trying to get revenge on the general manager who punished him. Scenario 4. Someone else interferes on Heyman's behalf. Maybe someone not directly associated with him helps his clients, giving Heyman plausible deniability. He can claim he followed the rules while still getting the outcome he wanted. This would be incredibly frustrating for Aldis and could lead to an investigation or further conflict. Any of these scenarios creates compelling television and adds layers to the Wargames match. There's also the question of how this affects the wrestlers involved in Wargames. If they're counting on Paul Heyman's help and he can't provide it because of Aldis's warning, does that change their strategy? Does it change their confidence? Does it make them more desperate or more focused? And what about their opponents? Do they feel more confident knowing that Heyman might be neutralized? Do they still prepare for his potential interference just in case? Does Nick Aldis's warning give them a sense of relief that the match might actually be fair? These psychological elements add depth to the Wargames story and make the match even more intriguing. Let's also consider the broader implications for SmackDown as a whole. This confrontation between Aldis and Heyman represents a larger battle between order and chaos, between rules and manipulation, between authority and influence. If Aldis can successfully control Heyman, it sends a message to the entire roster that the general manager is serious about maintaining order. Other superstars who might have considered bending the rules will think twice. Other managers or advocates will know there are limits to what they can do. But if Heyman outsmarts Aldis, it shows that intelligence and cunning can still triumph over authority. It proves that the smartest person in the room still holds real power, regardless of titles or positions. This philosophical battle is just as interesting as any physical match, and it could shape SmackDown's identity for months to come. Here's what I think WWE should do with this storyline. They need to let it build organically. Show Nick Aldis keeping a close eye on Paul Heyman in the weeks leading up to Wargames. Show Heyman being careful, calculating, trying to figure out how to operate under these new restrictions. Create tension. Have near misses where it looks like Heyman might violate the warning, only to pull back at the last second. Keep the audience guessing about what he's going to do. During Wargames itself, the threat of Heyman's interference should hang over the match like a dark cloud. Every time something happens, every unexpected moment, the commentators should question whether Heyman is involved. That uncertainty creates drama and keeps viewers on the edge of their seats. And then, whatever happens, whether Heyman follows the rules or breaks them, there need to be real consequences. If he behaves, acknowledge that. If he interferes, Aldis needs to follow through on his warning. Consistency is key to making this storyline work. The follow-up after Wargames is just as important as the build-up. If there are consequences, show them. If there's a continued power struggle, develop it. Don't just drop this thread after one pay-per-view. This is the kind of ongoing conflict that can sustain multiple storylines and keep fans invested. Nick Aldis's serious warning to Paul Heyman ahead of Wargames is more than just a general manager flexing his authority. It's a battle of philosophies. It's a test of power. It's a story about whether rules and order can contain one of the most brilliant and manipulative minds in professional wrestling history. Paul Heyman has built a career on finding advantages and exploiting opportunities. Nick Aldis has built a career on professionalism and integrity. Wargames is the stage where these two worldviews collide, and the outcome will have repercussions far beyond just one match. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes drama that makes wrestling compelling. It's not just about what happens in the ring. It's about the power struggles, the mind games, the conflicts between different forces all trying to control the narrative. And as fans, we get to watch it all unfold. Alright, Wrestling-verse family, I need your thoughts. Do you think Paul Heyman will follow Nick Aldis's warning, or will he find a way around it? What consequences should there be if Heyman interferes? Do you respect Aldis for taking a stand, or do you think he's underestimating the wise man? Drop all your predictions and opinions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button. Subscribe to Wrestling-verse CC if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss our analysis of the biggest stories in wrestling. Share this video with your wrestling friends who are hyped for Wargames. Let's discuss what's going to happen when authority meets manipulation, when rules face cunning, when Nick Aldis's warning is put to the test. This has been Wrestling-verse CC, bringing you the depth, the analysis, and the passion that professional wrestling deserves. Until next time, keep watching, keep debating, and keep loving the stories that make this business the greatest form of entertainment on earth. We'll see you in the next one.